So we are talking about the movie Ghost House, directed by Rich Ragsdale. Now, I'm reminded of the classic horror movie Curse of the Demon with this movie, or you could maybe even say, to a lesser degree, It Follows. The story here focuses on a young American couple as they are travelling to Thailand to have a bit of a break in Bangkok. And whilst they're there, the guy proposes, and it's all sweet loves and all of that. And they meet two British guys who convince them to come to this kind of like out of the way, mysterious kind of graveyard type place where there are these what they call ghost houses, and these are small kind of wooden, they almost look like bird houses, and in Thailand the idea is that they house the spirits of the dead to stop them from basically coming and bothering the living. And what happens is these two British guys essentially trick this American couple into desecrating one of these ghost houses, and therefore they are cursed. Now, turns out these British guys are cursed, and the only way to kind of get rid of it is to pass the curse along, very much like Curse of the Demon. So I also say a little bit like It Follows, but there's no sexually transmitted thing here. The actual look and feel of the movie also reminds me of 2016 movie The Other Side of the Door. Kind of has a very, very similar aesthetic to that. That one was also set in Asia, I think, and so it's somewhat similar in the look and feel of that movie. So what kind of works and what doesn't? I will say I do have a mild spoiler with this movie, because I do have to critique something that's towards the end of the film, so bear that in mind. But before I get on to that, the main thing that stands out is there's some bad acting in this movie. Not from the main cast, I would say. You've got Mark Boone Jr., of course, from Sons of Anarchy, turns up as a kind of wise shaman type towards the end of the film. But the two British guys, particularly one of them, is a terrible, terrible actor, and their line delivery is so wooden and so forced it will take you out of the film. It's that bad. Now, thankfully, they're not on screen all that long, so you don't have to put up with them for that much longer. But while they are on screen, it is terrible to look at. I have to say I had some issues with maybe the supernatural powers were somewhat undefined, and it just seemed things happened to make a scary scene rather than thinking, what does this ghost actually do? What can it actually do? I'll come on to that, though, a little bit more in the positives. I had some issues with the end of the movie. Now, this is where there's going to be a bit of spoilery here. So, you've been warned. The conceit here is the guy, you have to have this curse passed on to someone else. So the guy's trying to save his girlfriend by trying to decide whether he's going to pass this curse on to another couple, and therefore it's their problem. However, when we get to the end of the movie, how it is resolved is so simple and easy, but it's built up to be this big, sacrifice. And it's man, comparatively, that is like a piece of piss compared to what you've been kind of umming and ahhing about this whole time. It's silly, I think, that it was built up to be this this is going to be really bad. You're going to have to pay the ultimate price here. And what actually happens is come on, that is small potatoes. So that was a little bit silly, and I've got to say as well, when we come to the climax, the actual aesthetics turn to a little bit silly. Let me just say, there's so much hairspray on display here. You'll be forgiven for thinking you're watching Motley Crue in a concert in its heyday. Yes, we are talking some seriously hairsprayed individuals. That's all I'm saying. But what works with this movie? I've got to say, this is a very well-polished film. So if you like well-polished and well-made, pretty high production value horror movies, then this is going to be a one for you. It is a very well-made film, professional. It looks like it's had some money put into it. The actual technical side of it here is faultless. I think it moves at a good pace. It's a very kind of exciting film with some good jump scares and creepy moments peppered throughout the movie to keep you kind of engaged. And there's some great visual imagery here, and it really does kind of benefit having this kind of exotic background in Thailand and everything. So it kind of adds that kind of slightly foreign aesthetic that makes it a little bit of a unique flavour. I thought the ghost effects here, for the most part, were well done, and apart from when we get to the end where I feel it kind of ends up being a bit silly, but there are some kind of quite funky imagery here. The makeup also looks pretty good. And And there are some well-earned scares. This is a good film that did get me a few times and will make you jump. And like I said, I do feel it's an interesting in the fact that it does kind of show you maybe this ghost world that is living parallel to us. And this is why I mean, sometimes a little bit undefined about what this thing can do and what it can't do. But it appears to be that this girl can see ultimately this whole new sort of dimension. So we have other spirits that kind of come in here and there as well. But maybe it would have been a bit, I felt like there could have been a bit more explanation about what it is that's actually happening in regards to that. But overall, I've got to say I enjoyed this film. If you like the more glossy type of horror films, the more kind of produced stuff, the more sort of James Wan style films, rather than your kind of grimy grindhouse style horror, then this may be a one for you. If you like, I don't think it's particularly original. Like I say, I do feel it kind of harkens back to certain other horror films I've mentioned, both in its look and kind of story elements. But it's a solidly made film that is well paced, well made, and well directed, with some maybe slightly dodgy performances here and there by some of the cast, and sometimes you'll see some of the Thai actors kind of glance at the camera and things like that. But overall, I've got to say I enjoyed this film quite a bit. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.